Our next speaker is Dr. Rafiq Ahmad. He's an associate professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Alberta. He is going to talk on the smart agriculture robotic for monitoring coral reefs and plant. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Can you confirm if you guys can hear me properly?
Yes, you are audible.
And the screen is good, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. And it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much to Professor Eric Feron for inviting me. Unfortunately, I recently came back from Saudi, so it was not possible for me to come back pretty soon. And I'm actually in another conference today here in Germany. But it's still my pleasure to be here talking from this forum. And I would like to talk about smart agriculture robotics for monitoring plants, and then also kind of open up to coral reef in future perspectives, and then kind of talk more from our experience in the vertical farming. So let's jump straight to the presentation. I'm actually associate professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. I'm also a faculty associate in Nassau School of Building Science and Engineering. I run two labs. One is the Smart and Sustainable Manufacturing Systems Laboratory, which primarily focuses on the system design and development, looking into smart and sustainable systems. So from a general perspective, how do we do system engineering? How do we do actually system design and making them resilient, making them more human oriented? And then we apply it to different kinds of sector. One of those sector is the vertical farming, where we have created a new lab. It's called the Aquaponics 4.0 Learning Factory. I'll talk primarily about that learning factory. So what is aquaponics? Aquaponics, it's a promising farming technology that mimics the mutual beneficial relationship between aquaculture, which is mostly the farming of aquatic animals like fish, and then hydroponics, which is kind of a soilless agriculture in the field. So that's kind of the general introduction. The way it works in the field and most of the industries today is we use manual sensing technique, we use manual loading and unloading, and we rely heavily on human expertise because it's a very transdisciplinary environment, so very complicated. What we have created here at the University of Alberta is a new way of looking into these systems by mimicking the pond ecosystem with engineering perspective. We call it Aquaponics 4.0 Learning Factory. The 4.0 is coming from the fourth revolution in industry, focusing on smart technology, smart digitization of most of these processes, and how we actually collect most of the data, use that big data to kind of using AI and computer visions to kind of control these systems, and then also kind of robotics for automated manipulation and most of these systems. So this is kind of the overall goal of the learning factory. We are proudly the world first learning factory focusing on Aquaponics 4.0. The world learning factory comes from Germany, and it's we are officially recognized by International Association of Learning Factories for this kind of research around University of Alberta. This is kind of the existing team. We have around 4 postdocs, 1 research associate, 7 PhD students working around different parts of these research. And I'll talk more primarily the learning factory side. So if you look into the learning factory, we have 2 locations. One is the dry location, which is mostly the smart learning factory, the smart lab, which I'm talking about, where we actually can do create most of these technologies related to manufacturing, packaging, recycling, sustainability aspects, and then kind of also automated seeding processes, automated harvesting, and kind of packaging process. And then we ship our products after the seeding to the growing facility, which is kind of the main Al factory, which is the aquaponics side, and where we grow our systems. So we created a system where we actually put our plants and then it automatically moves between different levels, and then finally it reaches to a level where we need to harvest, and then we send it back to the harvesting station and we can produce those systems. So it's kind of a full factory environment which we've created within our system. The main concept or the smart agriculture focus which we have in our team is looking into the big data analysis from some of these processes, looking into kind of Internet of Things, computing, AI-based robots, and then kind of also wireless sensing of some of these systems, but also we create the software and hardware around those so we can create a big digital transformation of these agricultural industries, especially in the vertical farming. And it's a very complicated process. It's not only looking into the engineering side of things. We also focus on the sciences. We also focus on the computer science aspects of things. And aquaponics, it's a very complex ecosystem where we need to focus on the microbes, we need to focus on the plants, we need to focus on the biomass, fish, and then kind of all of these things, they work together to create kind of an ecosystem where we have to monitor all these different types of nitrates, and then kind of ammonium ions, and how do we actually collect them, identify them, we need to control them so we can create a bigger ecosystem around that. One of such examples when it comes to learning factory is to looking into different types of parameters into the plants. So how do we actually kind of look into the temperature? How do we look into the lighting, the humidity around that, and then kind of different types of pH levels, electroconductivity. So we measure them automatically in our systems, and then we kind of use that to kind of automatically update our system based on whatever is required. For example, if a plant is dying, how do we actually quickly monitor that and then kind of give back a control system to the system so we can continuously monitor and update the system. We also kind of measure the fresh weight estimation of a plant using computer vision technologies as well. And so these are some of the IoT systems which we have implemented successfully in our learning factory. Another example, and I saw that from the previous presentation as well, is looking into kind of this tedious job of autonomous harvesting. And that could be for different types of berries, that could be for different types of applications in agriculture, but our focus is mostly on the harvesting of strawberries or blueberries because this is a big problem in Canada and also in Mexico. So those are the two focus areas where we focus on how do we create an automated system we can actually kind of use this technology to kind of quickly harvest without damaging the plants. So that we have been looking into computer vision application and quickly identifying these berries and then kind of localizing where these berries are. So this is how far we are so far. We are able to kind of detect, we are able to kind of look in around our robotic solution. So you can see a manipulator arm in the system, which we are currently investigating. We're also looking into the gripper side of things. Currently, we don't have the proper gripper implemented yet, but that's kind of the next focus of what we are looking into. We're 3D printing some of these technologies to kind of adopt a complete solution so we can do automatic harvesting. So one of the other thing which is quite important in these kind of systems is also the inspection robots. We have been inspired from some of these robots like Curiosity robot, and we are actually investigating new robotic platform, which you can see on the right side. It's actually tailored for -45°C. And the main reason for that is the weather in Alberta, because we live in a very cold environment. And if we need to send a robot to outside the field to kind of do inspection on many things, and that could be pipeline, that could be anything else, not only focusing on the berries, but looking into any other applications in the construction or manufacturing area, or even in production environment, that how do we do that inspection? Do our system need to be ready for this kind of challenging environment, which is our extreme weather condition? So we are not only focused on -45°, but we also look into +45°, which would have a really good applications even in Saudi Arabia for that. So that's kind of one of the focus of this project. And the link to this, from this to some of these aquaponic system, is that we want to detect quickly damages and sickness in plants. We have really created a system, a platform which can actually, we can classify different types of plants. Then we can also classify and identify if there is any damage to a plant, like a disease identification system using AI. And we use this platform, which we have created, to quickly identify if there is any treatment or disease or causes which we need to kind of rectify quickly for our system. So a user who is not an expert in the field can quickly use this kind of robotic platform in a computer vision system platform, so it can quickly tell you what you need to do if they can see a particular problem. And we are also investigating with partners from the KAUST University to kind of deploy such kind of system even for a coral reef research. Now, looking into coral reef, it's a global issue. And then we have not done a lot of work on the coral reef from our side, but where we see the opportunities, and we are currently working on some kind of research to kind of identify the big opportunity areas in coral reef and kind of how we can link it to the aquaponics and vertical farming. So we know that it's a big climate change problem. There's pollution, there is ocean acidification, overfishing is one of the main issues. So there are many threats which we need to look into. Coral reefs are biodiverse marine ecosystem that covers only 1% of the seabed, but harbor 25% of all the marine species. So it's a big thing, and it's a very important project for us as well. We've been looking into what are the different types of monitoring technology similar to the one inspection robot system, which we are deploying on the aquaponics side and outside in the field. We have been looking into the sea as well, and we know that there are some driver-based system, remote sensing technologies, and autonomous monitoring. So we are pretty much looking into the autonomous monitoring system because we have been implementing similar technologies in aquaponics and vertical farming in-house. And we know that there are huge challenges when it comes to coral reefs that we need to look into the biology side of things, chemistry, physics, engineering, and politics. Some of these areas are very important. We have been looking into similar kind of scenarios on the vertical farming as well, and we know that those kind of collaboration will be important. Just by looking into some literature and identifying what are the opportunities, we have been looking into how people are doing research around those areas. So we know that robotics, semantic, and monitoring is in underwater environment is a huge thing. By looking into the cluster on the red on the map, then we also look into the green side, that underwater imaging and mapping through computer vision robotics is also an important area of research where people are investigating a lot of work. On the blue side, you can see that minimizing the impact of climate change and ecosystem through machines and data is also an important area of research. And then we look into this brown research where biomimic technology and fish fins and underwater exploration is also a new area of research, and people have been looking into some solution around that. One other small area is the biomimetic technology sorry, this one is more, this one is probably not written properly, but it's mostly looking into the visual surveying of these systems into this biomimic technology. So those are some of the areas where we need to focus. Where people are really looking into one thing which is kind of missing is really looking into one certain technology, looking around these imaging, processing, monitoring techniques, and then also kind of impact on the global impact of these climate change as well on these ecosystems. Another finding which was quite interesting in our recent research is that we look into what are the different areas which would be very impactful and what are the main highlights of that. So robotic and semantic integration in underwater robotics are going to increase drastically, and a lot of people are really pushing into it. And one of the key area where people are looking into is the computer vision and imaging technology, and how we can actually deploy those, how we can actually use that in the sea is becoming more and more important. Some of these countries like United States, Canada, and Australia are really leading around those areas, but we need a more global approach into these kind of technologies. Some of challenges and main gaps which we found in our recent study is to look into the coral reef robotic systems. We need really specialized areas here. Not all the robots which exist would work around those. So we need really specialized environment for more monitoring, sampling, and maintenance areas. But we also need more efficient algorithms which can actually detect some of these concepts. And that's where our team is really looking into. And then also we need to look into more longer term objectives and how a system can stay longer in the ocean, for example, to stay for a diverse environment. In monitoring particularly, there are many things people are looking into and kind of important, especially monitoring is important for measuring and control at the same time. So you're not only focusing on the measurement side, but also how do you actually deploy that too so that we can control and kind of stop the damage somehow. Then we also need to look into more the policy side of things, the SOP of how people can go there and to kind of create more social awareness. So that's the part which we think will need to be more monitored and looked into. But then also monitoring tools include visual surveying, coral health assessment, satellite remote, and acoustic monitoring kind of technologies, which need to be investigated a bit further. And then we also look into the coral reef health information in conservation and restoration efforts. Those are the areas where we need more global approach because there are some individual work around those, but how do we actually create a more collective approach so multiple teams can work and control around those areas. Some of the limitation in current monitoring technologies is related to traditional monitoring system may be only looked into a small area and then very specific to a particular type of coral, but not looking into a global approach. Those are some computational challenges as well around those, but it could be more looking into that. Accessing also coral reefs in remote areas could also be a big challenge. We might have some labs, some particular areas of more interest and people are deploying a lot of technologies there, but we need to kind of look into making those technologies more available for a global challenge. Then also there is expansion of monitoring equipment currently, but having those available for vulnerable communities might also be an important. So how do we actually create technologies and systems which can be deployed even to developing countries? And then also traditional monitoring systems are more focused on the coral reef stress and kind of damage around that, but more data should be available for other field of research as well. So I'll actually push this because I think I'm out of time, but I think the advantage of using robot is that data collection, real-time monitoring, and non-intrusive kind of research around those areas. And we also can deploy robots to kind of have more cost-effective data approach, and then also kind of getting real accurate data within our systems. So in future trends, I think we need to focus on technologies which are related to coral nurseries restoration. So mostly looking into how do we actually collect data from existing nurseries and then kind of deploying that on the robotics platform. So we can actually send the robots to these existing nurseries, but then also we need to focus more on robust technologies, like sensing and imaging systems, not only for nurseries, but I think we should also look into more the Red Sea in other seas, so we can actually really look into the coral reef monitoring in a broader scale in its augmentation. And lastly, I'll finish it on a digital transformation framework. I saw that in the morning, somebody talked about a digital ocean, which is very similar to the digital transformation framework, which we are actually looking into in our team on the smart and sustainable manufacturing laboratory. So we focus on the people, that how people can actually be skilled around those technologies, which we are working on, and also the technology development on the computer vision and robots and systems. But then also we need to look into more collective approach on the processes, that how all these data and systems can be corrected and applied into these systems. So that's all on my side, and I'm open to questions.